My name is Jason Dickson and I am the author of Glen Piano by Gladys Priddis. Glen Piano by Gladys Priddis is a historical romance, ghost story, weird tale of a woman who falls in love with her doctor who may be a murderer. And it's set in late 1800s London, Ontario. Well, I wanted to write a book that took place in London, and I wanted it to take place in the late 1800s. And I wanted it to take place in the medical community somehow, because London was and still is a pretty serious medical center. So when I think of London history, I always think of its medical history. And then I kind of just thought it would be fascinating to explore the fringe community that always pops up in these medical centers of quacks and imposters and because local history deals with such an intimate miniature view of the world, it can become overtly precious and exact, and that of course can, to me often, it just seems like a perfect place to make something horrible happen. Well, the poems that are printed in the book by Gladys were pieces that she wrote while living at Piano's house in his garden. They're love poems to her doctor. They're exceptionally intimate. I don't think they were meant to be read by us. They were written simply for him, and they reveal the extent to which she's obsessed with him and just desperately in love with him. They're meant to be the heart of the book. The book goes on in a very straightforward narrative. It tells the facts in sequence, as Gladys knows them, and the facts as much as the interviewer can know. But then, right in the middle of it, hopefully the whole narrative just cracks right open, and we have to read Gladys's desperate thoughts and feelings. And then it closes right back up and just continues in its steady way of stating the facts. So, Well, I don't want to say. I think that's one of the mysteries of the book that the reader can think about. But I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting to consider that the code at the end of the book is in text, and the poems are in facsimile. So if this is something that Gladys wrote, if the code is something that Gladys wrote, then why isn't it in facsimile? There's a conscious decision to not have it be in facsimile. So hopefully that's suggestive of who authored the book. The cover of the book is a print of a water hemlock, which is a plant that is found in London, Ontario. And the water hemlock is, every part of the plant is poisonous and will kill you. The plaque on the last page of the book is a plaque for Gladys Priddis. It was erected on the banks of the Thames, just north of Cavendish Street. There's a field, and by crossing the field there's a little trail, and then you go down that trail, there's a little bridge, and there's kind of a stream that comes off the Thames and a tributary That's why the plaque was erected. I've always written ghost stories. I think I've only in some ways written ghost stories because, except when I try not to write ghost stories, and they always end up just being terrible. So, I mean, the first book that I have was put together by my grade 1 teacher, and we were all, this was at Plover Mills, just outside of Thorndale. We were all to write a story, and then she would type it up, and we would illustrate it, and then she would bind it in this kind of really nice rudimentary binding, which I think that she made out of wallpaper over just cardboard, like folded cardboard. But the story that I wrote was about this kid who's walking by a haunted house, and he enters the haunted house. It's nighttime, and inside the haunted house, basically the next 5 pages are just all the monsters that he meets. So first he meets the werewolf, then he meets Dracula, and then I just seen John Carpenter's The Thing. So The Thing appears with the big long head and the neck and the crazy head, and then he gets really scared and he runs for the window. He jumps out of the window and is impaled on the graveyard fence, and then he ends up haunting the house. So that's basically where it started. And then just ghost stories is just, I love them. There's something about them that evidently really appeals to me, so. I think primarily the interest came as from a desire for there to be these sorts of stories in London, Ontario when I was living there. There were those stories around, but I wanted to add something to that lore, to that supernatural lore, and so these are my contributions to that. I hope to invent them and then to give them as much historical validity as possible.